Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, Mai Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here today and to bring you today's show. Now, I know I say that with every show because every show is so precious to me. I mean, how often do we get to talk openly and deeply about sex? And today's topic, sex and cancer. OMG, right? Well, today I have with me my best and dearest friend, Sherry-Ann Tom, with whom I've had the honor of witnessing and living through 3 of her 4 cancer treatments. We were business partners for a couple of those treatments, so I got a whiff of what her journey was like. And to be honest, cancer scares the heck out of me, so I was close to her but distant from cancer for most of it. And my other guest is John Andrews, who is a new friend to me. Sherry-Ann introduced John to me, and she said, John is just wonderful, and he has a lot of wonderful things to share about cancer and sex. So when I spoke with John, it is true. John is wonderful. He's wonderfully honest, wonderfully deep, and wonderfully transparent about his journey. And there are just so many aspects to this journey of having cancer that we need to be familiar with, and sex is just a huge piece of that. And to be honest, again, I have never thought of, sex and cancer never went together with me. When I think of cancer, everything just kind of stops in my head, and the panic bell goes off, and it stays there until the cancer is over, and then we just kind of assume that life goes on. But sex comes with it. So what do we do? How do we be with our sex while, during cancer, and after cancer? So I'm thrilled to bring to you John and Sherry-Ann today so that we can start talking about this. Sherry-Ann, would you like to share with the audience a little stat about yourself? Who are you, how old, and your cancer journey, and where you are now with your sex after cancer?
Yes, let's just jump into there.
Yeah,
thanks, May.
We have an hour. This hour will go by much faster than we thought it would.
Well, first I want to bust you and say you did not get a glimpse of cancer. You were deep in the trenches with me and got to be there at the worst of times and the best of times and the hard times and the easy, well, there's no such thing as easy time. You were there, so you saw it all. We just didn't talk about sex and cancer that much. So.
Well, thank you for that. It feels inauthentic, and it almost feels hubris to say I was there because I just know what a big journey that was for you, and whatever I got to share with you was minor compared to what it was like to actually live it. So I think you're the most courageous woman on the planet.
Of course, I always say that about you, too, because you're bringing this out into the world. Okay, let me jump in. I'm Sherry-Ann Tom. I just celebrated my 50th birthday. Yoo-hoo! And more importantly, thank you. In April, I celebrated my 5 years cancer-free. So that's the bigger. Woo! It was a big year. It still is a big year. Yeah. And I started my journey back in 1998. So prior to that, I was, just a corporate schmuck trying to work my way up the ladder and kicking butt and taking names and was stressed out like everybody else, busy, and didn't really pay much attention when I first felt a lump in my neck and thought, I have a bumpy family, so it's nothing, and I just let it go. It continued to grow, and that's when I got alerted. And I think your body knows. This is what I've really learned, that your body knows when something's up, And I touched it one day, and I just felt myself like welling up with tears, and I'm like, something's going on. And I remember leaning over to my husband saying, I think it's growing legs.
Oh.
And he looked at me and said, okay, I think we need to go find the doctor right now. Well, we didn't find it right now because we were driving to the campsite because we were going on vacation. But soon after that, I went through all the testing and the staging and all of that to be diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and was given a pretty great prognosis, 95% curability. So I'm like, I'm lucky I got cancer light. However, it turned out to be that 5%, not the 95%. And it came back a second time, and I was good for a while, and it came back a third time, and then it came back for a fourth time. So I know I'm downplaying it. It's easier to look backwards rather than to be in the middle of it. But just to give an overall feel, I feel like I've gone through everything in the kitchen sink: chemotherapy, radiation, bone marrow transplant, more radiation, chemotherapy, and added a lot of alternative and complementary medicines to that. And I do attest that all of them helped me, along with my attitude of positivity, and I'm just going to get through because I've got far too much to do in this world to stop me. So I'm here, and I'm excited to talk about cancer and sex because I don't think that it's talked about very much, and I know that sex forever has been this let's whisper about it, but now I feel like let's not scream it from the top of the mountains, but let's have a really healthy discussion about cancer and sex.
Thanks, honey. That's just lovely. Wow. Sherry Ann is the poster child for cancer, for how you can survive cancer and like do cancer easily and as effortlessly as possible right there.
I don't know. I think John stands right next to me.
Okay, let's hear from you, John. John, who are you and your stats?
Oh, thanks. Hi, May. Hi, Sherry Ann. Well, first, I am a big Sherry Ann fan, so you inspire me every day. Yeah. So I am a very proud gay man who loves sex, loves sex, and I was first diagnosed with 2 forms of cancer in 2000, and the prognosis was pretty grim, but I went through a clinical trial and radiation and chemotherapy and suffered all those horrible side effects you hear about, but was slowly getting better. I was in a long-term relationship with my partner, Jeff, and he was really supportive through that time, and we'll probably get into talking about our sex life sort of before, during, and after cancer. And then when I was sort of recovering, my partner, Jeff, himself was diagnosed with brain cancer. And so I had to go through that journey with him, sort of on the other side of the coin, where I was helping him go through his cancer journey. So as a partner dealing with someone who is dealing with cancer, I can also talk about sex from that perspective. Jeff did pass away in 2003, and I thought my life was over, but another wonderful friend appeared in my life named Chris, and he and I are now in a wonderful long-term relationship. I am truly, madly, deeply in love again. Didn't think that was possible.
Yay!
And we have sex. Yay! And we have sex, and we have a lot of great sex. But I'm still dealing with the long-term side effects of cancer. And, in fact, most recently I had an anal cancer scare and had to have a couple of surgeries for that. So that, needless to say, put a big, put a big monkey wrench into our sex life for a little while. But we've been able to get through that. So that's my story. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my heart is
so
so
glad
full.
you're doing.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you're feeling. You came through that scare, and it was only a scare, John.
Yes, yeah. I'm really happy too. Except it did involve pretty extensive surgery in my colon and anus. And, you know, as proud gay men, we enjoy anal sex, And so that really, we couldn't do that for a while. We had to figure out other ways to enjoy each other physically, have sex.
Right.
But we had no problem doing that.
John, I love you already.
I'm a John Andrews fan.
I know. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, my heart is so full. I don't know where to start, actually. There's just like, so much. And I just love, first of all, I just appreciate you putting it all out there, John. It's like, anal sex, loving it, sucking when it's not working for you, and it's just like, and partner death, and oh my God, it's like, let's just cover the whole spectrum of life in one sentence, John.
Yeah. I just want to tell a quick story right now, because I was reminded when my partner Jeff died.
Yeah.
I was going through a grief support. I was in a grief support group through hospice.
Yeah.
And it was all these folks who had recently lost a spouse. They were younger people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I remember the counselor was sitting there, and she said, "So don't even think about dating for a year."
Yeah.
And I just thought, are you crazy? We have, yes, we're fragile. Yes, we're grieving, but we also have needs. We have sex and physical needs, and we need to feel that closeness. So I just completely ignored her advice.
Well, let's start there.
You.
Let's start the conversation there, because how does sex fit in with cancer? Because I know for myself, and there's just this unspoken assumption that once you hear the word cancer, or when cancer drop in, everything else drop out, including especially sex. Somehow I don't feel hotness and eroticism or anything when I put the two words together, sex and cancer, in one sentence,
Well, cancer definitely is not sexy.
Right.
It's the epitome of not sexy.
Yeah.
Well, for me, they tell you all about all kinds of other side effects, mouth sores and this pain, and I blocked them out so I can't even remember. Neuropathy, so numbness.
Nausea.
Nausea, yeah. But they don't talk about, for me, lack of sex drive. And then it gets all convoluted, because I don't know if the lack of sex drive is because I'm so fatigued, which is the major side effect from cancer treatment, or if it's just that my libido is shot and I don't have one anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I knew I wanted to have sex, but I just physically, I couldn't always, get an erection or participate like I wanted to. So my brain was saying, yes, I want this, but my body was saying, no, you're too tired, you're nauseated, you have all these problems. Don't go there.
Right. I mean, I'm sitting here trying my best to relate to this, right? And I'm judging myself right now, because my relationship to this was like, if I have like a little cut or a little sore, like a stomachache or something, I'm not turned on. I don't want sex. And I'm like, wow, I'm comparing like a little stomach cramp to having cancer and sex. So I'm just like laughing at my innocence around this whole journey here.
Oh, but it's really true though. If you don't feel well, if you're not feeling healthy in mind, body, and soul, you often don't want to talk about or have sex, because your body, you have your self-image of your body, at least for me, was really low. I was dealing with even things like incontinence. I mean, who wants to think about having sex when you have to wear an adult diaper? I mean, that's just really hard. Excuse me, honey, while I slip off my Depends. Hold that thought. It's just tough.
Let's do that. Let's just put all the ugly stuff out so that we can just ride over it or through it, and then we can get to the other side of the good stuff, we'll have to find the hotness of sex, on the second part of the show or something. But so there's incontinence, big adult diaper. Oh my God, that's just like the worst thing, isn't it? No, it's not.
Yeah. Well, things could be worse.
Well, and then for me, let's just talk about dryness.
Oh.
Because it's dry everywhere. So I added on the chemotherapy sent me into menopause. So immediately everything starts drying up. I mean, even my eyeballs dry up. So if you think about your mouth, my mouth dried up. My vagina dried up. So even just touching me is like, oh, I want to, and I get it, John. You have this, okay, I want to have sex, and one touch with a tender finger, and it's like,
oh.
I mean, it's like, don't touch me now. Okay, all done.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say that I remember when Sherry Ann shared that with me, I, being her best friend and advocate for sex, said, have you tried the back door? It's actually really good.
But again,
wow, well, that
everything
dries up too a little bit.
What was that?
That can dry up too a little bit.
Exactly. Everything dries up. So it's
all of your mucous membranes, basically, which are involved key in sexual activity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I really don't know what the if you were, so let's just go there. If I'm giving him a blow job and I need lubrication in my mouth, what do you do? It's
right.
Not, they do have them for your vagina and even your anus, but not in your mouth.
Right.
Right, and squirting water doesn't make it slipperier.
No, it doesn't. And I know you've said, well, have you gone down on him? I'm like,
Yeah.
Sorry, honey, that was just an ignorant woman's advice.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, we did a lot of mutual masturbation because, if the mouth wasn't working and the anus and other parts, there were times where we just helped each other achieve orgasm.
Yeah. So then porn helped, I guess, I hope. Something. What helped, John or Sherry Ann?
Well, I think, cancer affects every sex organ, including your brain, the most important sex organ.
Yeah.
And so I guess the thing that helped us the most was talking about it, which is really hard to do. We don't, just in general, as a culture, we don't feel comfortable talking openly and honestly about sex and how we feel and what we want and what's working and what isn't. But Jeff and I had to really learn how to do that, so that I could communicate what my problems were, what was working for me, what wasn't, so that we could still have a healthy sex life. And sometimes it was just, I just want to cuddle right now. I'm not ready to go further. But what the nice thing was is once we did that, oftentimes it led to feeling more comfortable and overcoming all the side effects that I was going through. So then we were able to have sex, but it usually started with no expectation of sex. Let's just be physically close and loving and touching each other.
Right. John, I'm so glad that you said that because it really is, what did they say, 80%, 70%? I mean, it's a pretty high percentage of the orgasm is in your mind. I mean, there is the physicalness of it, but it starts and it ends, I don't know, for me there. And just having that connection really is the turn-on, is the turn-on switch for me. And then, of course, there are lubricants that you can use, and there are medical assistances that can help. But I think you've just really kind of got it in a nutshell of have that conversation over and over and over again. Because for me, it was, it almost had to be planned. I needed to get my body ready. My mind could go there much faster, but I had to insert the internal lubricant early so that it had time to meld and do its thing before I could even accept the touch.
Yeah. And we had to talk on such an intimate level because we were talking about things that before cancer we didn't talk about, like could we use sex toys? Would that work? Or how maybe if we watched some pornography, maybe that would help me with my sex drive, or maybe at least that would satisfy him with me there, and I could participate in that. So we would just try different things and see what worked and what felt good, and we just kept talking and trying and experimenting. And that really helped.
It just feels like such a generous, patient, I don't know what the word is, spacious or something, you know, like very, very patient process.
Yes. Yeah. And I was lucky because I had a partner who was really willing and just so generous in being there with me every step of the way and wanting to work through these problems with me. You know, a lot of people, their relationships don't survive this because they somehow can't find a way to work through this so that they can still enjoy a good sex life. Well, so I was lucky. So the part, I have to give Jeff so much credit for making it work.
Well, that's what I was wanting to ask is that what do you do with all the other stuff like shame and anger and resentment and bitterness and victim, feeling the victim of the cancer and all that stuff? It's like, where was the space for that from both sides too, right? I'm pretty sure it's as crazy and difficult for the partner who doesn't have cancer as it is for the partner who has cancer.
Absolutely. I think I've said it to you before, May, is that cancer kind of exaggerates or brings to surface all of the issues that may have been existing before cancer. Mm. So now when intimacy was sex and you still want intimacy, but it may not, in this part today, it may not lead to actually having intercourse, then what's there? And if it wasn't a relationship where you could be open like Jeff and John's, which is so lovely, then you're stuck with the old stuff. And I actually think that I had to do some of that with, you want to be spontaneous, but we can't.
Like I can't.
Right. I can't be spontaneous.
Yeah. That was one of the hardest adjustments to make, that we had to plan when we wanted to try and be intimate, and it was just trying. It didn't always happen, but I always know that I felt I had to take a shower, I had to prepare myself, I had to do all these things to get ready so that physically I was in a space where I felt good about myself or as good as possible so that we could have sex. And so to plan that out is really awkward and weird sometimes, and I felt sad that we lost that spontaneity. Although I will tell another story. One time Jeff was in the hospital, and he was having these diagnostic tests, and I walked into the hospital room, and he said, "Gosh, I'm just really horny." So I brought the draping around to the bed here in the hospital room, and it was so great. I still think about that. It's just a joyful experience that here we are and feeling a little like bad boys in the hospital. But wasn't that was so fantastic. So we just had to, that was a spontaneous moment, and we grabbed it because, those were very few and far between. So when it did happen, we just went for it.
Oh, that's wonderful, John.
Wow.
Well, yeah, that's like, thank God for no rules, right? Like, or less rules around when and where you can have sex and all that stuff, like barriers to that, and so that you were able to just grab it and it seemed to feed you then, and it still feeds you now that you did that.
I love the boldness of that, and I think going back to, the stuff about a relationship, we're so not conservative, but we're not risk takers. So for us, it would have been like, ooh, wouldn't it be fun? But we would never have acted on it. So I'm envious.
Oh.
Well, this might be difficult, Sherry-Ann, but I think it would be really so healing for everyone involved. It's like, well, share some of your challenges with your husband. Sure, why not, right?
Well, I'm trying to think of a story like John. It's like, so many times it's like, yes. So we start the intimacy, and maybe this is just general. I can't think of the time and place, but we would be both turned on at the same time, and so we're going towards the progression of having intercourse, and it's like starting it, and then I'm just wincing in pain, and he's like, what? And I'm like, it's okay, keep going. And I'm trying to participate, but it's just so painful. And he finally says, we can't do this if it hurts you.
Right.
And I want to cry just thinking about that. It's like, how am I prevented or just how unfair it is that I want it, I know that my body wants it, and yet not a betrayal, but it's limitation.
Yeah.
Because just so that everybody knows, I still deal with the dryness today, even with interventions. So
what we would do when we reached a point like that, when we were being intimate and moving toward having sex, and if it was too painful for me, rather than just sort of stop, we would try and figure out, okay, well, maybe we can do this. Or, Jeff, maybe you can just sit there and I can, help you come, help you have an orgasm. But we can't do it the way maybe we want to, but at least we don't have to completely stop. But I know that's probably, it must be so hard for the partner when they see that their partner is in pain or uncomfortable or not enjoying the experience.
Right. And yet you know that they want to, like I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I don't want to stop this. Can I, which is typical Sherry-Ann, can I get past this part so that I can get to the good part? And power through it, but you can't. So that's probably one of my saddest stories. And it's not like it just happens once. It's like you try and you try, and then you're so disappointed that the desire to try another way just kind of goes, okay, let's just lay here and hold each other, hoping that would satisfy it, but that's not enough because you want that. You want that. I don't know what to call it. That kind of closeness that you don't have with just cuddling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what? How about I don't know. As a woman, there's always this piece of gosh, taking care of your man's ego. Like, how many times can you do that and not go to, oh my gosh, I wonder how he feels. I'm, trying to protect him, trying to take care of his ego, I don't know, all the stuff that us women do, Sherry-Ann.
Well, of course, I took total responsibility, complete responsibility, probably over-responsible, and just felt bad, and that ate at me, and then I didn't want to have sex for a long time because it was that fear of disappointing and the fear of pain, and combine those together, and then I'm just a sorry fellow. Forget it. So while I want to take care of them and I feel guilty, I just feel guilty all over the place.
Well,
so then we just don't talk about sex, and we don't have sex, and we just avoid the whole thing.
Oh yes, that's the perfect solution. I like that one.
But then you both have needs. So how do you just take care of yourselves, or how do you take care of your sexual needs?
Let's hold on that one. I'm going to go to a commercial and open the line to include other people if you'd like to call in. The number to call in is 646-200-8255. 646-200-0813. 646-200-0813.
There's so much more to Mai Vu than sex. If you enjoy her on this show, give her other radio show a listen. It's called The Reinvention Show. This week's episode is called Money and Self-Worth, and it's waiting for you to listen to right now at reinventioncircle.com.
Okay, we're back. And so John was just asking a very poignant question. If you don't talk about sex when it really counts, then how do you get your needs met? Shall we start there?
Sure. So on a physical level, there is this wonderful thing called a shower massager.
Oh.
Because it's got the water, so it's already lubricated, so you don't have to do anything, and you adjust it to the speed that you need, and it's right there however you need it, and that's a good friend of mine. But we did progress past this, and I think I come back to what you said, John, before, which is talking about it, not holding it in and not avoiding the subject, because we did that. We're just, okay, we'll wait till you heal, but the truth is just ignoring it doesn't allow you to heal. Healing is body, mind, and soul.
Mm. And how did you help, can I use your husband's real name yet?
Sure.
How did you help Jerry get his needs met?
So I got to be honest, not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my low self-esteem around it. I didn't want, it was so painful to think about it.
Mm.
And so there is a lot of guilt around that and sadness.
Oh.
So for a period of time, it was very dark.
Mm.
And for me, there was fear around it, too, because I couldn't help but think, sex is such an important component of our relationship. If that's not happening anymore, will he go outside the relationship? Mm. And will he ultimately leave me or abandon me, or because I can't fulfill his sexual needs? So that is sort of that fear. Even though we were in a very strong, committed, loving relationship, long-term relationship, I still had that fear in the back of my head. So, like you, Sherry, and I was feeling guilty and the low self-esteem, and also feeling fearful that he could just go somewhere else. He doesn't have to put up with this.
Right. John, you asked me this question earlier, which is, did anyone ever talk to you about this? And I'm sitting here kind of, again, sad, because the answer is no. Your doctors talk about the medical part of it. How's your body functioning? We can give you some interventions to help that. But they don't talk about, definitely not your partner and that relationship.
Yes. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, even when you're in a grief support group and you're working with professional trained therapists, and it is the elephant in the room, nobody was willing to talk about sex and how they were getting their sex needs met after their partner passed away, or how they dealt with it while their partner was struggling through cancer. So it's not just the people who are focused on the physical side. It's the folks who are dealing with the emotional and mental issues and the psychological issues that also often don't talk about it.
Yeah, and it also sounds like there isn't anything to talk. Like, how do the partners get to talk about this? I can just, because I do know Sherry Ann and Jerry so well, I could just now think back, I can just feel his pain, and it's like, where does Jerry get to go talk about this, and get it out? It's like everywhere he looks, I can just imagine it would just be a make wrong place, It's like, oh, I can't say that about my wife, and I can't say that I want this, and that I'm still horny even though she's not, and all that stuff is so pent up inside.
Right. I can imagine that when you say that, I can just imagine the guilt on their side.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
not going to push for it. I'm not going to ask for it because look what they're going through.
Right.
Yeah. And I also wonder if it also add into the fuel of like, well, if I was hot enough or loving enough or something enough, that might make her wetter, because that's how we are trained, right? If we hit the right spot on the woman and we do the right thing, bring the right chocolate, whatever, the right button that we can push, that makes them wet. And now this doesn't, and it's just kind of like,
right.
Me.
Right, the old indicator of she's turned on, she wants me, is her being wet, and there's nothing there. It's like, oh my God, she doesn't want me anymore.
I want to add a new friend to the call. Peter is on the line. He is my most loyal fan, and so he shows up on the call and adds his observations and comments, and I just love having him on the call. So Peter, you're on the line, honey. I hope he can hear me. Well, he'll join when he can, I guess.
I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay. Wow. John, Sherry-Ann, thank you so much for just being so authentic and sharing all this. I guess my what's been striking for me is just the range of your sex life and how everything, like if people didn't know what the theme of the show is, it would be like real world sex. It's like all the neuroses that all of us have just cranked up, and then all of the like creativity, and John, your story about the hospital room is just hot, and just it's like the full range. It's like that much more painful and that much more like creative and exciting. And I guess one thing I was curious about is like what sort of support did you have in terms of your friends? It sounds like the support groups were sort of lame, and there's a lot of complexity with your partners. But what about best friends or or other people who were there for you?
Sherry-Ann, do you want to jump in?
Thanks, John. Well, I had May, so it made life a lot easier. She will talk about sex in a heartbeat, and I do remember her asking, "So, why don't you go down on him?" Or how about sex toys? Or what about? I mean, she had lots of creative ideas. One thing that May and I had tried in the past, and I think that it's still a really good idea, is erotic reading. So we went to a bookstore and we bought erotica, and just sitting and sharing that with your partner can get you into the mood, at least your head. And then you use the interventions to help. I mean, I've tried so many lubricants, and I've actually learned that the silicone lubricants are better than the water-based because, I don't know if you want this much detail, but the silicone doesn't wear. So for someone like me who can't really make her own mucus, moisture, it's there for me for a long period of time.
And whatever health scare that you might have about silicone, who cares? You already have cancer, so it's like, bring it on, right?
Well, actually, and silicone does not penetrate the skin membrane, so that's why it can stay on, so I don't have to worry about my body absorbing it.
Nice.
Yes. Well, that's what I've been told anyway.
That's great.
For
in
me,
my head,
Peter,
I just want to say one thing. I was thinking about your blowjob dilemma, and the thought that came to mind is lemonade, because lemonade makes your mouth all mucusy. Would that help or no?
I don't know. I'll have to try it.
You should try and call back onto the show sometime and let us know.
There you go. And I've got an update on the lemonade and blowjobs. I think my husband will be very excited to try it.
Awesome.
At least it tastes good anyway.
John?
Yeah, so Peter, to your question, I really had no one else to talk with. I didn't talk about it with my healthcare professionals. My friends, we just don't have that kind of relationship where we talk about sexual problems. If we ever do talk about sex, it's more about, the positive things about sex, but we never talked about the negative things. There's a lot of shame involved. And then, and even with friends who had gone through cancer themselves, I just never had the courage to broach the subject with them. So in a lot of ways, I was in the dark. And back to a point that Sherry Ann made earlier, if doctors, if the healthcare team talked about sex the way they talk about other side effects, it would just so normalize it for us. It would make it okay to talk about it with each other, with our healthcare professionals, maybe with other people and other cancer survivors. So I hope and wish that healthcare professionals will do that more and more, will broach the subject just in a sort of easy, normal way as they talk about incontinence or nausea or neuropathy or whatever it is.
Right. It's so funny that we can talk about incontinence like it's nothing with our medical team, even here, but when you bring up sex, it's like so heavy and tainted with all this other stuff around it.
Yeah.
Because it is. So the last show that I had, I interviewed Peggy Frank, who talked about sex after HIV. She is a straight woman and caught HIV back in her 30s, and how that impacted her whole life and her whole sexual journey. And, there was lots of down stuff about it. And at the end, I asked her about what's the gift of HIV. And she said something that was so poignant. She said, once I contracted HIV and how challenging it was to find partners to have sex with and to be in relationship with, it stripped away all of the illusions, all the games that we play with each other to find partners. Is it about your money? Is it about your looks? Is it about your ego? All that stuff just stripped away, and it reduces down to something very pure, which is when someone really wanted to be with Peggy, she knows that they want to be with her. Cause kind of like HIV is kind of like the screen of it all. So that was like a humongous gift that HIV brought that I didn't know, and we didn't know until she said that. So I wonder, what is the gift from cancer around sex that you guys may be discovering that you didn't know you had?
Well, I can jump in. I think for me there were two gifts, because they're two very different situations. When I was going through cancer, my cancer journey with my partner, the gift of cancer was we learned how to communicate in a much deeper way, and not just about sex. So that was the purpose of why we were communicating more, but it ended up leading to more just general intimacy, because we were just talking about how we felt and what we wanted and needed, and we were feeling more and more at ease and comfortable with each other. Even though we had been in a relationship for many years, it took us to a much deeper level in our relationship. But then, sort of similar to, was it Peggy's story, the woman with HIV?
Yeah.
So after Jeff died and I was sort of on the dating scene again, I would disclose to people, almost immediately that I was a cancer survivor, that I would get checked periodically, that I had these side effects, that it could come back. And it's sort of that, that cancer survivorship where you're always often feeling like you're living in the shadow of cancer. And like Peggy, I would disclose that to people, and some people would sort of go turn and run, and some people, like my partner now, Chris, it wasn't an issue, and he just was there for me and continues to be there for me, and it was in a way the gift of yes, he really does love me despite all of these other issues.
That's amazing.
Thank you, John, for going first, because I was sitting here pondering, and for me, and the gift of cancer and the sex in the cancer really required us to slow down and be creative. And since we have to plan it, it gives time for me to fantasize, and I think even Jerry to fantasize about, okay, when we do come together, how do we want it to be? And there's more intention rather than, I do miss some of the spontaneity, but the intention makes that build up. So it's the sex act is actually expanded because it's like, okay, it's going to happen here, and I'm going to be like this, and he's going to do that, and so it starts earlier and it lasts longer.
I like that. It starts earlier and it lasts longer. And it also, I mean, from here I also got like there's something too about you just can't play the old games anymore.
Yes. Yep, it's real.
Yeah. And real sex is tender, it's patient, it's unexpected, it's disappointing, it's surprising, it's vulnerable. It's not just
precious.
It's precious. It's not just about jumping on and pounding away.
Right.
Right. We call that sports sex.
What's that called?
Sports sex.
Sports sex. And what do you call this sex?
Really good sex. No, it's all good. It's all good and joyful and to be celebrated, right? But Sherry Ann, you're just so insightful because what you said got me thinking, yes, it's so much more intentional, and that makes it so much better, for me at least.
Yeah. Oh, I have 2 new callers joining us on the line, so let's see who they are. Your mic is on, so would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, May, it's Natalie.
Hey,
and Sally.
Yay!
And Natalie and Sally, oh my God, how much fun. So, Natalie and Sally are my Girls Gone Moto girls. They have taken most of this year off, not off, but they sold their life and put themselves in an RV and travel around the country to spread joy and love around the country. So they have been on a wild adventure, and every show I invite them to call in around this time to say, hey, let us know where they are and add their joy to the show. So welcome, Natalie and Sally.
Thank you, May.
Where are you guys today?
Actually, in Southern California. Yeah, both of us are in Cali again.
Yay, you're home.
Yes, we are.
Home for the holidays.
Yeah, it really feels like that. Home for the holidays.
And how did your trip end?
Oh man, it ended with us driving like crazy women to get back a day early because it was just driving the last couple of days, so we wanted to shave time off having to drive home.
Save time. So it was
pretty intense driving days, but towards the end of the trip, I think all of us were looking forward to getting back to our family and friends a little bit and really reflecting about the trip and being grateful for what we'd experienced while at the same time kind of being ready for a little bit of a break. Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe I can come out and see you guys and have a show or something. That would be fun.
Oh, my gosh, yes. That would be fun.
Are you in the Bay Area?
Well, we're going to be there in January.
Oh, my God. May, let's hang out with him. I'm inviting myself.
I know what you want, Peter.
We can have a whole show on whatever comes out of it.
Oh, okay. I'll keep the mic on.
That would be great. I'm seeing a lot of good things. Well, I'm looking forward to this year being more like fun and adventuring, so that definitely can be included in my year.
Oh, wait, let me be more specific. So I have been exercising my personal agenda on these two women, John and Sherry Ann, because they are hot single women out on the road in an RV traveling around the world, and they are not having enough sex out there. So I've been their champion going, girlfriend, come on. So I wanted to catch Sally on that statement. She said she wanted to add more adventure in her life. Were you being more specific about that adventure that you want to add, Sally?
Yeah, May, you know me, though. It's like so tame compared to, I'm sure, what anybody listening would think is adventure. But for me, you know, simple things are going way out of my comfort zone. So I started dating, which I've never actually done, and that's super new for me. And
wait, did you say dating or fucking? I couldn't tell.
I said dating. I'm sorry, it's not fucking. I can't report that.
Well, the reason why I think women get in trouble when they use the word dating. You know, that implies relationship, that implies a lot of stuff. I just want you to be free and get out there.
I know, and for me, this is a big step for me. I mean, I know it sounds not maybe so much for other people, but I've actually never really dated, like gone on dates with guys and met a bunch of different people and put myself out there in that way. So for me, it's a pretty big step.
Good. So it sounds like
yay.
It's like sampling.
It's like what?
Sampling. Dating means sampling.
Yeah, sampling. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's good. I like that.
Thank you.
How about you, Natalie?
Oh, God. I have not even thought about any of that, but, I mean, I've definitely noticed me putting myself in a different place, like when it comes to, because I feel like people turn on or turn off their sexual attractiveness.
Yeah.
So I've definitely noticed that I've been making more of a conscious choice to turn it on and seeing the reaction and the attraction that's happening. So that's been kind of interesting.
Cool. Well, come to San Francisco. I'm sure Peter would love to meet you too and, you know, help you turn on any which way you want to.
Yeah, I can be of service there, definitely.
I'm sure you will, Peter.
and I can help broker anything you want.
Oh, come on, May. That's a cop-out. You want more than that.
That would be a different show. No.
Probably.
So, I wanted to include you into our conversation today also. So Sean and Sherry Ann have been so wonderful and just lovely to share their journey around their sexuality with their sex with their having had cancer. And so I was wondering if you want to ask them any questions or share your reaction if you have any, and you know, just be part of the conversation.
Oh, cool. Thank you for including us. Yeah, actually, I mean, I apologize I didn't catch a lot of the first part. I know you were talking about, I heard someone mentioning something about being a little more intentional with, you know, the way that they are around sex. I was just wondering a little bit more about that, if that was like a conscious thing you realized and started being more intentional, or just kind of happened in that way.
Well, this is Sherry Ann. I do want to say that I love John's analogy of sport fucking, but that's just not not an option as of now physically. So I have to be more intentional. And I like the intentionalness of it because it allows me to be creative. So I'm massaging that side.
So part of the part that you missed, Sally and Natalie, is that Sherry Ann was saying how, you know, there's so many side effects to having had cancer to your body, and one of them is dryness. And so this is just one angle that she's referring to. And so when your body is all dried up, you know, you can't do, like even doing a blowjob with a dry mouth is just not possible, you know. And so there's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of communication that needs to happen, deep, intimate communication that needs to happen between her and her husband to get it on and to to go all the way kind of thing, and there's lots of room for failures and lots of room for restart, redo, and creativity, so that all the stuff that we take for granted with our normal body, John and Cheyenne don't get to take for granted. That's one of the reasons why I'm such an advocate for you girls having great times and great sex right now. Anyway, aside from my agenda. Go ahead, John.
Well, what's interesting is I know we've been talking about folks who've been dealing with cancer, but for older men who are dealing with erectile dysfunction, if you take Viagra, you're supposed to take it an hour before intercourse.
Right.
So you sort of have to plan it a little bit. A lot of people have to do that now, and think about it, because you're not gonna take the pill if you don't have a pretty high chance of success after it.
Right? Why waste the pill?
Right, exactly. It costs money, man.
Well, it's a reverse. It's a reverse at my household. When I see that thing hard, we're going. So we don't have to do the other thing. Oh, okay, it sounds right. Let's go. Oh, too much fun. Anyway, so the time has come for us to say goodbye, and I wanted to just thank John and Cheyenne again for your heart, your soul, for what you said today. It was so lovely and touching, and thanks, Cheyenne, for sharing the hard stuff and all the good and inspiring stuff too with us. And thank you, Sally and Natalie, for dropping in and saying hi, and for Peter, my most loyal fan, to bring your questions and contributions as always. If the listener ever wants to get a hold of John, Cheyenne, or me, or Sally, or Natalie, or Peter, feel free to email me at mai@maivucoach.com, mai@maivucoach, maivucoach.com. The next show will be on next Monday, December 27th. Did I get the date wrong? With Dana. Now, this is going to be a hot show. Dana is, her show is going to be on freedom of her sex. It's going to be a hot show to warm up your cold after Christmas days. Dana will talk about her sex life journey, from being a sex hotline counselor to committing suicide, almost dying, to being a sex worker and then loving it, and now also now learning to establish her white picket fence relationship while maintaining the freedom of her sex. So we're going to go to town on that one. I'm sure, Pierre, you would like to join on that one too. That would be
I'm like, I'll totally be there.
And anyone else, you are welcome to join. And Sally and Natalie, come on the whole show if you're home and don't have anything to do. Thank you to my listeners for listening to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, the voice of healthy sex. My ultimate goal is to help us get a hold of our sex, own it, play with it, have power over it, and let it fully serve us and bring us joy and freedom. Talk to you next time. Namaste. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. You can find Mai on Facebook by liking her page, Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, or hang out with her on Google+. To find her, type in the URL gplus.to/Mai-Vu, gplus.to/MAIVU.